Well, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
My name is Tom Cole, and I'm the director of the Arizona Registrar of Contractors. It's my privilege to be here today. What's new? Obviously, the director confirmation process is long and can be arduous. I'm a homer for the DVACs. We have a nice program for you today. I'm very excited about it. We did invite the governor. Another acknowledgement I'd like to make is to our exhibitors today. We've got more than ever. It's the biggest fair we've ever had. 2,000 kids, young people, and veterans scheduled to come through. You can see the halls are full, but it wouldn't be possible without our exhibitors. So I ask you to please give a round of applause. Many of you are in the room. Thank you so much. This event doesn't happen without you. So in your programs, you're going to read a little bit about Carlos Contreras, who was an amazing partner. OEO, Office of Economic Opportunity for the governor, is an amazing partner with the ROC. We haven't advertised it widely, but we've embarked on a grant program down in Cochise County. It's a pilot program to get workers engaged as contractors with an R62 license. That's a minor home improvement license. We started the program down in Cochise County because of the strong bond we have with the community down there, with the college, with SACA. We're really happy to welcome members of SACA here. See my brother and his family. OEO has helped us with the initial seed money funding for this program. We've already got interest. We've got 4 enrollees into the grant program, and more to come. So it's getting up and running like a little baby deer, but we're off to the races, so we're very excited. Unfortunately, Director Contreras was called away, but we're still going to have input from OEO, and we're going to talk about Build It AZ. And it's Gina Flores, Deputy Director of the agency, and she's been a great partner of ours as well. And without further ado, Gina.
Good morning, and I know I'm standing between you and a wonderful panel, but again, I'm Gina Flores. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Economic Opportunity. Sometimes people think that's equal opportunity or something else, but in these days you need to be very careful. I want to tell you just a little bit about the agency, but wanted to say that Carlos, the office is new. We're a new cabinet level agency. He reports directly to the governor and has been working very hard on the Build It AZ apprenticeship initiative. It's really one of the biggest things that we do every day. The office is it's very different in terms of we don't provide a lot of direct service, but we are focused on workforce strategy. So the conversation today about preparing the workforce, that's something we're dealing with and talking about every day. We manage the Workforce Arizona Council, which is a group of folks appointed by the governor to work solely on workforce. And we coordinate with them, and the staff of that council is within our office. We also provide a lot of data around labor market, Arizona demographics, so we have a lot of smart people, economists, demographers, and things like that. So if you're ever looking for information about the population or workforce, go to our website. We also put out a monthly jobs report around just how many jobs have been added month to month, year to year. So if you're ever looking for that kind of information, check out our website. And then we also do workforce evaluation, which is really about looking at the funding, where it's going here in Arizona, and if it's effective. So again, some very smart folks using data to look into those programs and see if they're actually training people to earn a good wage, that they're out there getting the training that's going to translate to a good paying job. And so that's really important. We always say, like, people aren't always excited to see data about the performance of their program. So sometimes it's like, hey, this is a flashlight, not a hammer, but we want to make sure that our resources, which are more and more limited every day, are used effectively. So that's an important thing. We just put out a recent, our first workforce evaluation report on training programs that are paid for by the federal government. So if you're interested in that, it's also on our website. And then finally, we are home to the Arizona Finance Authority and the Greater Arizona Finance Authority, which basically they are putting money out to rural and tribal areas to build public infrastructure. So we're about to fund some projects, and I think that really translates to jobs in rural and tribal communities. And so if you're interested in anything, or know folks who are trying to get projects off the ground in those areas, send them our way because we can probably help them with funding. So to get down to build it, just a few updates. I hope that you all in the room are aware of the governor's goal to double the number of apprentices, registered apprentices in Arizona. So this launched 2 years ago, and we are working every day to try to get funding out basically to registered apprenticeship programs, many of yours. And that is about making sure that we can recruit apprentices into these training programs. The funding can be used for tuition, for books, for equipment for the programs. We've done a lot to try to get the funding out to registered apprenticeship programs, and in the past year, we have put out about $700,000. Wanted to list off and recognize a couple of those programs. Realm Construction, Phoenix and Tucson, and the Laborers Training and Retraining Trust for their Laborers Training School. And then exciting, we, at the end of the month, are going to announce 7 more grantees who are receiving a total of $1 million. And so the governor, it's scheduled for April 25th, and she'll make an announcement about our new grantees. And then also about the progress that we've made since this program launched. And really, this is about recognizing your work, working every day with apprentices, because we're not out there recruiting and training, but we're trying to get funding and get as much funding out as possible to expand these programs and buy new equipment, etc. So we're going to talk about that, and then also we're announcing new funding. So I want to make sure that you're all aware of that. If you haven't heard about the program, I have my colleague here, Oleg, raise your hand. He is going to help us get this new round of funding out. It's $3 million, so the biggest amount that we've put out so far. Only to registered apprenticeship programs and to community colleges who are also have registered apprenticeship programs. So watch for that. We'll probably be able to put that out if Oleg doesn't have any summer vacation, by June, and then open that up. And that funding will be it's through ARPA dollars, and so we'll be able to use that money by the end of September next year. So we hope to focus on building capacity, retaining apprentices, which is really around what are those wraparound services they need. We're hoping to incentivize more work in childcare to help all of those parents who are, struggle getting to work that early and finding someone to watch their kids, and also just tuition, more books, equipment, that sort of thing. So new funding, and then one other exciting thing, which I really hope that we can partner with many of your programs on, is the launch of an outreach campaign. So we've invested about $500,000 in a campaign that will help to do a couple things. First, just talk about construction as a career, as a good paying job with benefits, with a career path, and get more people excited about going into careers in construction, and then connect those folks who are interested with the reps and making sure they know how to find you, phone numbers, emails, whatever the source that you want them to use to get to you. So look for that in the future. We're going to try to launch that in May, and we're talking about social media and community events, things like that. So more to come, and we're going to specifically also emphasize and try to reach women and make sure they understand the opportunities out there for construction. So look forward to partnering with you on that as we roll that out, and you're interested, please reach out to us if you want to have any materials. If you think, like, one of the main things we want to do is share stories about people who are out there and what their career has really meant for them in terms of supporting their family, buying a house, etc. So we want to help tell those stories and get those out. And then Just want to thank you all for the work you're already doing. We've made huge progress, and the governor will announce that later this month. And just want to continue supporting you and understanding what the needs are in the programs and how we can help you grow even more and train more apprentices. So with that, looking forward to the conversation today with our partners from DES and others. So thank you so much for having us. And again, Carlos wishes he can be here, but I know he'll see you all soon. So thank you.
Help me the common goal. One of the other strengths of the ROC is the Industry Advisory Council, and I just want to thank those of you that are members that are here. It means a lot to see your faces. We have support from you every other month, and it's valuable input. Sometimes it's things that are hard to hear, but we need to hear them, so we encourage that. But thank you for being here, especially those of you that have traveled far to be here. So at this point, we're going to start our Apprenticeship Summit panel discussion, and I'm going to introduce folks. I want to tell you that there's detailed biography in the packet that you've got, so I'm not going to belabor that. We'll just call up individuals one at a time, get seated. A couple of you are going to have to share microphones because we're on a budget. time for me. But let me please get started. I want to start with the State Apprenticeship Program Director from the Arizona Department of Economic Security, Joanne Winham. Program Director, and a great resource for all registered apprenticeship programs. Next, I'd like to call up, and I've heard him called Dean, I've heard him called Doctor, we call him Dale. Anyway, Dean Porter, Assistant Dean of Business, Career, and Technical Education. Next, we've got the Talent Development Manager from Hunter Contracting, Letitia Canataro. And finally, we've got a Construction Technology Teacher from Ganado High School. And we're very proud to have Kevin Watchman on our panel. So there's a lot of data out there about the labor market, but I'd like to start off first just to get to know our panel a little bit better. So we'll start with Joanne. Joanne, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your organization and how it contributes to the construction workforce development. And we'll just work our way down the panel.
All right. Again, Joanne Bueno, I am the State Apprenticeship Program Director for the state of Arizona. I have the honor and privilege to manage the team, the apprenticeship team that helps all employers and organizations who wish to register their apprenticeship programs with the state. What that does is that with every registration, that program is then recognized to be able to deliver training and development for individuals for certain trades and occupations. And upon completion of that, these individuals are given a nationally recognized credential for that occupation. And by nationally recognized, it means it's acceptable in all the 50 states and its major territories. And that certification signifies that that individual is competent, qualified, journey worker level for that occupation. So that's what our office does. We are special in Arizona because we are our own state apprenticeship agency. So we can have our own rules and regulations surrounding registered apprenticeship, of course adhering to the Code of Federal Regulations as set by the Department of Labor. But now enough of the boring stuff, what we really help out with is that with apprenticeship, this is not just a training program, this is an actual job. Employees or the apprentices are starting their careers from day one. As soon as these employers, such as you guys, have provided that opportunity for them, and using this employment to go from having little to no skill to being qualified, highly skilled individuals, all with the input and the close training that they get from the employers. So it's customized in a way. So in that way too, being structured as well, you can ensure a highly skilled workforce and a system that is consistent, and you could expect consistent results. So that's apprenticeship in a nutshell.
Thank you, Joanne. Letitia, same question, a little bit about yourself and about your organization regarding workforce.
Well, first off, that was hard to, I don't know, I'm sad that I didn't go first. So, my name is Letitia Canatero. I'm the Talent Development Manager for Hunter Contracting. I found myself in 2019 leaving the military, so I'm going to give you a little backbone about me. But I left as an instructor, trying to figure out my way. I thought I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I was not good. So any of y'all that do it or know anyone that do it, bless their hearts. So I gave that job to my husband. I found myself bored and I applied to a job and I went to work in Seattle for a mechanical contractor. Found my passion. I was very, had an amazing opportunity that my boss never put any restrictions on me, which if you come from the military or have any understanding of the military, there's usually a box and you gotta kind of stay in it. And he's like, no, color outside the lines, Letitia, have fun. And I was like, okay, so I can do what I want? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, we'll figure it out. So I found my passion. I found my passion in employee development. I love what I do. That's kind of how it happened. And then I got to come back down to Arizona and loving being here again. I spent 6 years at Luke Air Force Base helping to bring the 35s here. So I got to be a general assistant for that for a little bit, so get yelled at a little bit, that's fun. And then, so what I do with Hunter, a little bit about Hunter Contracting is they've been open for about a little over 64 years. They are a family-owned business, and I know that's extremely important to a lot of your students to have those opportunities, but we really focus on, it was the grandfather that started it, and then the grandchildren are actually running it. And then I'm hoping we'll have another generation here very soon. And but what we do is a little bit about what I do is the development side. So I have people who come by my office on a daily, or I go out to the sites, and I always say, which is not the best thing to say, is I'm going to organize your life. It's okay. That's an okay statement. But what I do is, even some of their kids, they'll come in and say, hey, Letitia, I don't know what I want to do. Well, there's assessments for that, but no. Why don't we figure something out? So I also help out with a lot of the things. A lot of your students will contact me and I'm like, okay, let me be a mentor, which is probably the biggest thing that I wish I had growing up, was a mentor in the industry. And if I'm gonna give any advice, I know I'm kind of going off topic a little bit, but if I'm gonna give any advice, utilize us the best you can, utilize me. Friendly person, but I don't mind having them come and hang out with me. I will figure their lives out. Maybe I'll say the same thing you're saying, but in a different way, and that's okay. Did I answer the question? Sorry.
Dean Porter.
Hi, my name is Dale Porter, and I am the Assistant Dean of Business, Career, and Technical Education at Cochise College down in Syracuse. I've been here in Arizona for 4 years. Previous to that, I taught for about 15 years at the university level in construction management, primarily in construction estimating and scheduling. Also did some materials and methods, taught one leadership class, which was a blast, and plan reading. So I have a general understanding of commercial construction. However, as you move into the community college level, as you probably know, almost across the entire nation, we focus on residential construction. Now we're lucky today, we have Doug Schmeller with this, and some of his students have joined us today. And Doug runs our highly successful residential construction program at Cochise College. And they build one house a year. They build a 1,600 square foot, is that roughly correct? House per year. And then of course the proceeds of that get spilled over into the next house that they're building. So it's hands-on as far as the experience that they have and so forth. Generally it's gained within that program and that house. Things have changed. As was mentioned by Governor Hobbs there, it's not the same place that we were working 10 years ago, right? The demographics of our students have changed. The needs of the construction industry have changed. The government regulations have changed. Education has changed. All of these things we have to work with industry partners to stay on top of. We need to know what's coming our way. And I know from the university level that oftentimes newer innovations come from academia and go towards the industry, not the other way around. Otherwise, we would never have them. Let's just look at it that way. There's just certain things, right, that work in both directions. And so those conversations and having these conversations like this about those changes, how we're dealing with them, are of high importance to us. One of the things that we're here today to discuss primarily, of course, is apprenticeships. Those are extremely tricky for us in a small community college where the majority of our students are actually military. They're actually off the teaching. Right? So that cuts down more than half of our students right there. And then, as far as industry apprenticeships, we have to have a company or several companies that we can guarantee to take all of our students. That's frankly, we can't play that game. So we made some modifications. Right? We do what's called ride-alongs. Right? So the students go out and ride along with industry partners. They take the risk. They've been good about that. Right? So it's not our insurance, it's theirs. And some of them hire those students directly because of that program, which is really what we're shooting for anyway, right? Not only their real-life experience in the field, but the opportunity to have some gateway towards viable employment. One of the changes that we've discussed, right, is viable employment, and what that means. That's a new requirement for federal funding and for grants, is that we have to prove that. One, in all of academia, we've never been particularly good at tracking students. We joke about ear tags, right? Stuff like this, as far as being able to track them and find out where they went, where they're working. It's not an easy task, but now we're required to do it. And we have to prove that employment is viable. A few weeks ago, we had our Skills Trades Day on the Cochise campus. And it was fairly successful. We had some great players that came from industry. Our people in our CTE education department, they greeted about 200 students from the high schools in our county. They came and they bought food, we fed them lunch, and they asked questions, and it was a good time. But one of the things that I put up as far as information is, what does it take to survive after high school? How much do you need to make per year to pay your rent, to pay utilities, all these things? So without buying a car, without buying a house, and putting very little away for education, right now it's in the low 40,000. And that's no roommates. So go under that, no roommates, right? That sort of thing. But they need to understand that, right? And the fact is, what each one of the trades that was represented at our skills fair was paying in our community, statewide and national, right? And it's a bit of an eye-opener. So all those things have to come together, and that's why we're really appreciative of basically meetings like this or conferences or whatever, where we can have those conversations and work out those details. So I'm extremely happy to be here, and I certainly want to thank you for that.
Life skills are critical on top of it. Mr. Watchman, please, a little about you and a little about your program up at Economic.
Thanks now. Say, now there's touchy niche. Also, net kapay was a cheap, since the carney does a check. Not net does not. Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Watchman. I am a teacher, construction technology teacher at Ganado High School, Northeast Arizona, about 6 hours from here. Thank you for the invitation, Cindy and Maggie. My job is to get the young kids before apprenticeship and college, so we develop their young minds to develop their professional skills and to become ready for the industry. And I truly love what I do. I was in the industry for 23 years before becoming a teacher. So I'm my second year of teaching, and I brought a couple of students here from the welding program and our construction technology program. And we teach based on Arizona Department of Education standards developed by industry, technical, and standards. validation committee, which developed those standards, and a lot of it is based on the NCCR, the National Centers for Construction and Education Research. So I just like to welcome everybody, and like I said, we did them for everybody, and our goal is to get them ready for the industry. Out of high school and into the industry, I have two of my former students from last school year. My foremans of my construction technology class are almost becoming carpenter union carpenters as of today, and they're here in the valley working. So I like I said, I love what I do. It's the best career change that I've made. So I love working with the young students. Thank you.
And so the reason we're here, and there's so many conversations about workforce development, is because of the challenges to the workforce. Home Builders Institute put out a report last year, and basically the industry's lost more than 1 million craftspeople, and that trend has continued. The median age of workers in construction is 42 years old. The share of workers under 25 has increased slightly back in 2015. However, due to aging trends, that number has declined from 72% in 2015 to 67 and change in 2022. I'll start with Dean Porter. What are some of the things that construction industry-based employers can do to help encourage and open up the opportunity for students and younger generations to join the construction workforce?
Well, thank you for that. You know, we're just having that conversation out here with some of industry, and we were joking that what the construction industry needs is a movie. We just think of what the Hunger Games did for archery sales. We need something similar, right? We need something to make it popular. The other thing is, of course, is that I believe that young people generally don't have a particularly good understanding of infrastructure and its importance, right? As far as what it does, what it brings. Transportation, all of that is probably a little thin. And so we could probably do a better job of educating at a wide level, right? So what do we need? Well, it's not the same thing as it was 10 years ago, is it? There's a lot more in the way of software, computers, this type of thing we were talking about. My daughter works for a large construction company in Alaska, and she does all the grade with the GIS stick. So no total station, right? And if it wasn't an airport they were rebuilding, they would use drones, which are to within a 16th of an inch as far as that is. Do we ever talk about the construction industry and drones? I mean, or, you know, as far as the levels of software, you know, 3D modeling, frankly, isn't that old level from my perspective. But the idea is that all of those things that go with it, clash detection, all of these things, right? So teaching students about the higher tech needs of industry, right? I think probably accurately that most students at a young age, and I would probably be guilty of this, are thinking, well, if it's construction, I'm framing, or I'm trying to step over rebar as I, you know, direct concrete down a chute, right? And trying to put those things together. Whereas a lot of times it is at a desk, it is calculating sums, it is costs of equipment, the change of those things, following the politics, following production of those items that we buy or make within our country. All of those things, it's much bigger than, I think, very narrow view of young students. So helping with that, and as far as us, probably the greatest challenge is giving them a direct line of someplace to go after they get their education. Those are the big challenges now, and that's primarily what we're focused on.
Thank you, great answer. According to the Associated Builders and Contractors, the construction industry will attract over 430,000 new workers this year. 430,000. Compound that by almost 500,000 next year. That's a deficit right there of 1 million. That's new stuff, not to mention what we're losing. So, Kevin, CTE programs are growing across the state. How can industry leaders help to support and build those programs to better prepare and support students from tribal or rural communities in the workforce?
supporting our programs through events like this, like today. We work closely with Tamara, RSI, and Tulsa Welding School, and other entities, and just building their confidence and them coming to industry to come visit and network with our students, and recruitment, and getting our students to open their eyes and realizing that there is opportunity out beyond the reservations, and coming down to the valley and elsewhere to get into industry.
Thank you, Kevin. Public-private partnerships, right? Understanding that we're all in this together, and there's a lot of different opportunities, and there's a lot of different players in the game. So, as far as the ROC is concerned, we don't mind if it's merit, if it's union, all players are welcome. We want to bring everybody to the table, because it's going to take all of us to try and meet these goals. Love our partnership in the workforce cabinet with AZROC. It makes really good sense that we're working together to help build the construction workforce. In 2024, the governor, our Governor Hobbs, initiated the first phase of the Build It AZ Apprenticeship Initiative. We all know about that, doubling the number of recognized registered apprentices. I think the last number, Joanne, was something like 7,200 registered construction trade apprentices in January of this year. Can you guys explain how that registered apprenticeship program works? What are some of the benefits for construction companies? And what are some of the benefits for the students that get involved in a registered recognized apprenticeship program?
So, to the employers out there, this registered apprenticeship is something that you are most likely already doing. Whenever you hire somebody from the street or from high school, you still have to go and do an onboarding with them to ensure that they are working according to your company standards, ensuring that they are able to apply what they have learned, ensuring that what they put on their resumes are practically the truth, So that is what registered apprenticeship is. It ensures that the people that you hire go through a training and development, structured training and development phase of their employment to ensure that they are that skilled workforce that you need. And so with a registered apprenticeship program, these individuals, once they complete that program that you have, that training and development program that you have for them, they will get that national credential. Think of it as when you go to college or university, you get a diploma, right? And your diploma says, this person, so-and-so, has completed everything that they need to learn regarding an occupation or a trade or a discipline. With a registered apprenticeship program certificate, it signifies that that person holding it learned everything that they need to learn, but more importantly, they acquired the necessary relevant skills, experience for that job. So I don't know about you, but most employers, yes, when you do look for resumes, what is the first thing that you always ask for? Experience. And that is pretty much what you're already providing, that opportunity to experience and be skilled and be proficient to these individuals that you're putting into your apprenticeship program. There are also other benefits to employers. One mainly is that you're already setting your workforce pipeline up for success because of the mentorship aspect of it. Every individual, I don't know about you, or raise of hands, who can fondly think of a person who has touched their lives and truly have learned from them, pretty much has had a mentor or has a current mentor. See, most of us. In an apprenticeship program, mentors are key. And these mentors can make or break somebody's success, a company's success. And more often than not too, once you have a mentor, you'll end up one as well. And so with an apprenticeship program, you not only have a sustained workforce pipeline, you have a workforce pipeline that are also conditioned to become future mentors. That's what I say. But anyway, with apprenticeships as well, every registered apprenticeship participant, every registered apprentice also is opened up for opportunities to avail of funding to use towards the purchase of their books, their materials, their PPEs, their toolkits, even costs associated with going to school for their apprenticeship program. Veterans, I was so happy to hear that you're one and you have worked with many. Veterans also have that opportunity to access their GI Montgomery bills, post 9/11 bills, while in the apprenticeship program. And what that does is, you as employers not only provide an opportunity for career advancement, but you also add an added value to their employment through the help that they can get through maybe a living stipend or an additional educational stipend. But you open up these opportunities. But for employers, since you have that wonderful engagement, and as we know, when people are engaged, they're more productive, they're happier, you retain them more. And you're able to put them as part of that sustainability for your own organization. In fact, 90% of apprentices stay employed even after their apprenticeship programs are over. And I love how there's, with CTE, there's that exploration part, that the individuals are given that opportunity to explore and see what a wonderful world construction and trade can be. Debunk myths, Most apprenticeship programs that have pre-apprenticeships, the success rates of individuals go even higher. And that's why apprenticeships are also a great way to segue from CTE, from high school exploration, to further sustain and assist and guide these individuals into their career advancement in those industries. Also, I'd like to touch on Mr. Watchman's point about the CTEs. Another way we could support CTEs and even high school exploration in this field is talking to the parents, the guardians themselves. Prior to my role as the State Apprenticeship Director, I worked in a wonderful construction company that's local to Arizona. And I had a chance to work out in the field, and that's where I discovered apprenticeship and also discovered real hard craft work out in the field. And I strike conversations with the people out there. And I would see and admire how well, hard they worked. I would even comment on, why are you working so hard? It's so that my children will not end up doing what I'm doing. Wow. And right there, why, what's wrong with what you're doing, And that's sometimes our barrier. We have a pool, a talent pool in our high school, in our youth, and yet the very people that they trust and listen to are the ones who are serving as barriers to that career advancement or that career opportunity. So to support as well, we need to talk to guardians, we need to talk to parents, we also need to talk to industry. Employers would need to open up their eyes and know that it's okay to hire them young. They're not, just because they're 16 doesn't mean they're more dangerous. No, actually, there's no light switch that goes from 17 to 18, whoa, they're now safe. No. And with an apprenticeship program, because of the mentors that you're going to put in place, because of the structure of an apprenticeship program, you're able to mitigate safety and risk while also providing opportunity for younger folks into your industry.
Thank you, Joanne. One of my mentors, Larry Adams, has, we've discussed at length the challenges in rural Arizona for a proper apprenticeship program. particularly for the hands-on portion. It's really a challenge. The big jobs are all in the metropolitan areas, and so those folks have to migrate to get the proper hands-on experience. So it's an ongoing challenge. As far as the makeup of the industry, I think nationally we're about 11.5% females in the construction workforce. Probably a little over 50% of the population. Arizona does a little bit better at 12.1%. Nationally, we're ranked 10. Developing the construction workforce in Arizona is going to take creativity. Letitia, can you talk about building coalitions to tackle recruiting women in the industry?
Definitely, thank you. So I want to say too, I'm also a co-chair for the Building Women in Construction for AZROC. One of the biggest things when I first was asked last year about doing that was, how do we bring women that are competitors to the table to work with each other? I think women, we do that in general. I'll go and talk to anybody, so I don't mind. But how do we get to the same thing? We all want the same thing. We all want to develop within each other. But sometimes when we're, competing for the same jobs, our competition comes out. But we still say congratulations to each other. But I wanted to really kind of tailor it to a little bit of my thoughts on this question and the kind of the why. So even with women in construction, we also have males in construction that are our industry leaders. Their experience, they know how the ground works, they know how the equipment works, they know how the materials work, they know how they can quite look at a laborer or anyone else and know, okay, I might have to kind of shadow this person. I know I'm going to go spend a little time with them. And that's something that you just can't teach. You really can't. I don't know. I know a lot of you are probably teaching in classrooms and the student either has it or they're just needing some time to develop it. Sometimes the development can come from your side or sometimes it comes from our side. I think I love construction because we can be blunt too, so I love that. Sometimes it's not pretty. But we have those shortages in critical roles, or sometimes what happens is they get hurt on the job. I don't ever want to push anyone away, especially if they have good experience. I also want to look at the training roles. I think that's a great thing about our industry in general is there's a lot more training and development that happens within the companies. And then looking at those opportunities at the same time that maybe somebody can no longer use a shovel. Now it's time for them to come and teach. And that's where I kind of come at. And right now we actually have one of our field operation managers coming out of his role and he's going to be a full-time trainer. And he said, Letitia, I don't know if I can do this. And I said, yes, you can. I will be your shadow. We'll figure this out and you teach me more about what you do. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes down to industry partners and getting into the construction industry is finding those people with a lot of advanced experience that maybe need to come off the job site a little bit and come and help y'all out, right? I try and make sure they're coming out and seeing you. Also, experienced professionals when it comes down to retiring. Part of our company right now is we do have a lack of those senior estimators that it's really hard if you've ever recruited for that in your day of your life. It is the biggest nightmare I've ever seen in my life. So finding them is extremely, extremely hard, And so we keep a lot of our retirees and we say, well, what do you want? Do you want to do part-time? And that's hard. You got somebody traveling the country and now you're asking them to do it remotely and do some estimates. So that's a big challenge for us too, but some of the best ones I've seen really run the work and they start as a general laborer and they're just have those mentors that develop them into a really good experienced estimator. The next one is the need for people to understand change. This industry it's changing rapidly. What I learned about 3 years ago, a lot of those things with the materials, with the vendors, with the different clients, it's all changing. And so I think that's one of the biggest things is I could say when you're talking with students or you're talking to younger people, I think they sometimes are better with change than some of the more experienced people. But change is what some of those things that just talk to them in the classrooms, talk to them that materials are going to change and they're changing rapidly depending on where we're going. Also, not one single person can do this. I know some of y'all maybe, we're in our day-to-day where we got our blinders on, but understanding that people come to the table and it takes a collective community to figure these things out, and especially educate, and then also with the industry. So when you are looking at developing training programs, if you're not doing it already, utilize us. Call us and say, hey Letitia, I'm working on something like this. Do you have anyone that can come and be on board to look at that academic information? And then that's another thing is that I notice on my side is sometimes what they learn sometimes in the apprentice programs can be a little too generalized, and it doesn't really go, or it's already outdated because of the different materials and stuff that we're using, or the different concepts, especially with safety. Safety's a really big thing. How we're doing safety changes on a daily. The types of scope of work, what you're using is different sometimes, and it takes a real professional to understand that. And then the power of partnerships, you're never alone. I love helping, I love communicating, even if it's a competitor or if it's association. If I don't have the time, I will make the time. I usually do. Cindy knows, just ask me and I'll help out. And then building a curriculum, like I said, that's relevant. Utilize us. We just started partnering with NAU to be on their board of, to kind of help out with that curriculum development for the construction management program up there. And then I was actually just talking to Dean about technical writing. One of the biggest things that we currently have is a lot of people want creative writing. They learn that in college, they learn that in high school. Technical writing for SOQs or marketing and construction it's hard to find people. It's hard to find people who just want to sit there and write. But if you like writing, newspaper kind of articles, this is for you. Don't get creative, don't use your adjectives. Just just the facts. But it's really, really great because that's a big thing in the market is creative, is the technical writing versus the creative marketing. And if you don't have that in your programs now, even a class on that is really, really great because you don't know if anyone really loves that kind of stuff, and bring that, because it's hard to find those people too. And then also, personally, I was exposed to construction when I moved from Oregon back down to Oklahoma, and I couldn't graduate high school early. Had all my credits. And they wouldn't allow me to graduate early or do college classes because they didn't have a partnership at the college. So they had me do vocational school, technical school, vocational school, whatever it was. So I did a 2-year AutoCAD program in a year. Actually, I think it was 9 months. And I ended up placing second in state at Skills USA, and I didn't use it. Where was my mentor? And I was being a hard-headed student. But I came back to visit my folks, and I saw him again, and I would drop by, and he's like, Letitia, what are you doing with your life right now? Well, don't judge me. I was a bartender in Panama City. Because I don't know about y'all, I love to organize some lives. I think that's what we're good at. I will make you a checklist. So I think that's really, really comes from it. But I love that with people in my industry, and now with most companies having people like me in the industry, I think it's really important to be open to them coming to talk to people like us to say, it's okay that you no longer want to be up over there shoveling, a trench. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I actually had somebody the other day was like, I want to go in marketing. Cool, let's figure this out. So I love that about my job, and be open to that, and I'm here in any capacity that I can possibly be in, and I do shadows. I have your students come and shadow me as long as they're 18 because of insurance requirements. But I like to do that kind of stuff, and that is really tackling the industry when it comes down to construction and the workforce, is being open, having change management. They'll help them develop those skills because that's hard for them. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Letitia. Thank you for your service. But I think, especially with our rural partners, the challenges of those apprenticeship programs we've discussed some small bit, but these programs that are pre-apprenticeship programs or the high school programs are what's gearing up the rural folks to be ready for the industry. And nothing speaks louder than success. Kevin, you brought a couple of your students with you, and I'd like them to be able to share a little bit about their experience if they're willing.
I just want to touch a little bit on some of the women in construction. I have in my sophomores, I have construction 1 technology class. I have all girls in there. My goal is to get all these girls to compete in the Skills USA carpentry competition.
And I'm off script, my staff is ecstatic. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience.
Yantesh ay Julian Batchminchia. Kian Nishle. Some Washington, Tunchi, or Dashiche, Nashkala Dine, Dashinala. I attend Granada High School in Granada, Arizona. It's in northeast Arizona, Four Corners area. I'm in the construction program. I'm a senior, about to graduate in a couple weeks. Here's Kevin Watchman over there. He's a very solid guy. Yeah, I competed in the Skills Native a couple weeks ago. I didn't do so well, as well as I thought I was going to do, but it was my first time with a learning experience. The construction program at Granada was pretty good, but I feel like there's more opportunities that were lacking there. We're a rural area. There's not a lot of places around us that can outreach resources to help us. Other than that, it's a good program.
In class.
Congratulations. Introduce yourself and tell us a little about your experience.
Ja, is a Kai White listening. Cleveland listening toward the G, but she Kia on that's now toward here cleaning that's she. I'm part of the welding program, and this year I placed first at Skills Native competition. An $8,000 scholarship from RSI that day. So I went ahead and used that scholarship and signed yesterday with them. In the welding class, and I weld for Granada, so that's my high school, and I'm a senior this year. All I could say about it is that it really changed my life around my sophomore year, because I was an athlete that got injured, so I couldn't really do stuff. And how I looked at it is that when I learned it, I fell in love with it, so I took off with it, got really good, and I think I'm almost done with TIG, and that's like the hardest one. And there's aluminum. I like aluminum. I think that's the easiest one, but people say it's the hardest one. And pretty much just getting ready for state next week, in the next 2 weeks. And I'm ready to do damage out there. But yeah, that's me. This program really changed my life around, really did a lot. Really opened my eyes up to look around to see how many people were ready to support, how they could help, and how my career could get set. Thank you.
I know I make this look easy, but those guys did a great job. It takes a lot of guts to stand in front of a crowd like this. But we do have a great mix of industry, education, and policymakers up here, and stakeholders in the room. So just think about ways that we can make a difference for workforce development. I know we're running out of time, and it's gone by fast. You've been a great audience. We have a couple minutes for questions, if that's, I know we're standing between you and lunch. It's always a challenge. Yes, sir.
So, Letitia, as far as AI is concerned, do you see a transition of less jobs on one sector and more on another?
So I think the AI question is really, really good. A person like me, typically you have a team. In Seattle, I had a team of 4. I can do that same work with a team of 1 because I know what I want just because of AI. So it is making a huge impact with that, especially when it comes down to marketing and different things. I've also, sometimes grammar is not the biggest thing, especially when you're doing daily reports, foremen and superintendents and project managers, engineers. If they are not using AI in my company, I am going to tisk them because it organizes their life. So I do a lot of different workshops and stuff with that, and I think it's really important, especially with the Building Women in Construction for AZROC. We actually talk about that in a lot of the unique, that is really loud, especially for a lot of those different conversations. And AI's coming, either which way you like it or you don't like it. So the embracement is going to be the biggest thing, especially even incorporating something like that in your current programs, because I don't know if I would be hairless right now if I didn't have it. So it's already thinning. But yes, I can honestly say it organizes, it develops, and for the construction industry in a whole, we're coming. We actually just were looking at a different system with Trimble, and that system, we were taking the plans, putting it in AutoCAD and bring the 3D modelings up, and that actually educated our foremen. One of the biggest problems that we currently had was general laborers coming in, or foremen at that level, that were having issues with reading plans. So what we would do is have them read plans, and then this is a training program that we have, is have them read the plans, and then we would have them put on this cute little helmet, and then they could see the plans in real life and how that actually looked, and that actually helped us with site orientation. They could see, especially if they're on a bigger project, they could see and get ready. So especially their day-to-day work. So I appreciate AI and all the different technology that we currently have, and it's not going anywhere, and it's great to embrace it, and then it's great for an educational feature, because I can't say, well, you're gonna put a wall right here and it's gonna be here. But you can just put the device on and actually see it. Or if you're messing up and putting like electrical lines or anything in, or something's too close to water lines, it'll flag it real quick, and then you can move those on real quick, and then it goes into your plans. So the technology aspect for this is, I love it. I'm a big fan of it.
Thanks, Letitia. There's actually, I saw in the news, there's actually a warehouse, I believe it's in Scottsdale, that will take your plan and they will cast it on the floor of that warehouse in real space. So you can see your floor plan in the actual size and walk it. And invariably changes are making. They say if you make a change on a set of plans, each change is about $11,000 on average. And you can make the changes on the plan at the planning phase before the construction starts. So it's pretty amazing what technology is doing. It's a very, very astute question.
One more thing on the academic portion. I know curriculum development takes a long time. I already used to write curriculum development. That really goes away a lot of the times. Get your big stuff in there, and then let the AI just do it for you, and then just review it. Of course, don't rely on it. And make sure it has those technical terms, because sometimes it has issues.
It's like auto-approved contractor licenses. We don't just let them go through, we look at them.
We are also using it for our contracts too, is looking to make sure nothing's over-missed, is looking for like those major topics that are in a contract, because that's great reading material if you need to go to sleep. But what we do is we also are utilizing it too to get those main points in, to make sure you should read it the first time and the second time, but then make sure you're not missing anything. And so I think that's a beautiful feature that I wish we had a long time ago.
Well, listen, folks. Oh, please.
I was
Please.
just going to ask, do you think you could bait these younger kids with the technology aspect of it? Yes.
I believe you
Draw
can,
them
and I believe
in.
it's happening now.
All of our kids are involved in technology right
You
now.
can go into the pipe trades and become a journeyman, and you're sitting at a computer station the whole program. You can be a CAD journeyman. It's there. The opportunities are there. So it's not just based on your physical abilities. There's a lot of other opportunities. We have Jerry McPherson here from Arizona Committee on African American Affairs. Welcome. You have a question?
Just to follow up in terms of dating, I know one thing that is popular is the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. So, you want to talk about the opportunity of getting into the trades and maybe either using the apprenticeship as a pathway to ownership, or enticing someone out in the community to start their own construction business, knowing that there is support and there's an appetite for the job market, and ensure that that exists and/or the growth in the industry.
That's a, Dean, you want to tackle that one?
This is something we look at on a regular basis, right, is our pathway out of the education into the workforce. The idea is that I was talking to this earlier with industry. The problem is that we're training two different people. All right, so the idea is when we come out of high school, the older concepts of teaching high school, and the idea is that we're teaching a productive person who understands basic math, basic writing skills, so that they can be productive in that workforce, so they fit into that workforce. That's one student. The other student generally is somebody who thinks outside the box, is overly creative, that sort of thing. It's not the same teaching, all right? And at a college, we get around that because we split, right? We can go into the arts, or we can go into CPE and that sort of stuff. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have both, but it's a bigger program. And what I find generally in the construction trades or any business is that a lot of people can do the skills very, very well. And when they go into the business, they lose their shirt because they can't track the money. All right? So the idea is it's additional education. So the idea, I don't care if they come in for one of our Center for Lifelong Learning weekend education on QuickBooks, right? The idea is that at least they understand that, oh, I owe taxes, and they're quarterly, and they're not, all of these things, right? They fall into that. We don't have time, literally, in the amount of credits that we teach, to add always the business aspect. The student has to be mentored correctly, right, to look for that additional education. But we really do have to look at a split there of the type of worker that we're producing. And so, great question, but it has a little bit broader answer than just, yes, we can do this, or no.
It's a great question and a great answer. And to be frank, some of our licensed contractors that get in trouble, oftentimes, it isn't their trade skills. It's the business aspect that gets them in trouble. And so it's a really good lesson to learn. Well, I think we've passed first pitch, you all. Can I just get a round of applause right now? This has been a really good, robust conversation, and I invite you to continue that conversation. We're in C&D right across the hall. Lunch will be served. I think everything's ready to go. I can't thank you all enough. This has been a great room. Thank you for participating in our CT Apprenticeship Fair. It's our flagship event for the ROC, and I can't thank Cindy and Maggie and my entire team enough for all their hard work in pulling this off. So thank you and enjoy, and look forward to further conversations.